Hello, my friends. Jacob is here. Happy Sunday to you. Thanks for pressing play and for spending a little time with me as we discuss this
End Times Prophecy.
Yeah, that's right. There's a lot of people online. I've been getting email after email and comment after comment.
Jacob, did you see this about the Dead Sea? Jacob, did you see that about the Dead Sea?
Jacob, you gotta read this. This is amazing.
I gotta tell you something. It is amazing, and yes, I read it. Ha ha! You know that I'm up on all that crazy, kooky prophecy stuff. But you see, this is the thing that no one's telling you about this, because this has a much deeper meaning. I know what you're saying, it's just a book, you know, it was just written thousands of years ago, what does it matter, blah, 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 blah. Well, don't you think if there was some kind of creator, some kind of architect, some kind of designer or coder, if you're into, artificial intelligence and simulation theory.
And we're actually in the Matrix.
They would have left you some basic instructions before leaving Earth, the Bible, right? Well, other holy books too, some people say, but that's not the point. That's not the point, okay? Because see, I'm into reading all of these signs and miracles and symbols that are before us. Yeah, that's right. That's why I do stuff about the stars and the moons and the planets. And yes, I know about the Goblin Planet. I said a couple of years ago that Planet 9, that this is, that what they'll start to do is they'll start to come out and say, yes, it exists. Then they'll start to make a bunch of discoveries and just give it a year or so. Give it a year or so. I would say probably within a year or so, they're going to say, yeah, we found Planet 9. There it is. It's right there in our solar system. Trans-Neptunium. Yep. Even though they said for years it didn't exist. But
that's not what the show's about.
It was about the Dead Sea. Lowest place on Earth. There is a great truth hidden in there. It's the lowest place on Earth, the most earthy, let's just say that there's no life in the lowest place on Earth. Let's say that the lowest place on Earth, which is the Dead Sea, which is why you can go out there and you can just float in there. You know, it's like almost impossible to sink, some people say. And you got no life. You got no sea life, they say. Well, they found sea life, and we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that on today's show. But it's not like you go down to the Atlantic Ocean or Pacific. You can't go and, you can't catch a bass or a flounder or whatever you fish for. I fish for subscribers. I'm moving on. So basically, like all the rivers in the world, it is said to flow there. And then what happens is, since it's the lowest place on Earth, kind of like the drain, at the bottom of the shower, when you got 4 kids, 3 of them teenagers using the same shower, kind of like that's where everything goes, right? It's a nasty place. So you have all this mineral, you have all this salt, and salty, right? There is something to be said about salt. You can't drink salt water, right? Right? That miracle boy, you hear about him? Team was like at sea for months, just going around because his hut snapped off during the storm and then just went at sea. He was living at sea. And what he was doing was he was putting the salt water and he was putting it through his shirt. He was drinking the salt water through his shirt because you can't drink salt water. You get very, very sick from that. This boy was rescued, which I see as another wonderful sign. Those that are lost at sea are found. So why is everybody up in arms about this, the Dead Sea? Basically what happens is, so Israel's like kind of cutting edge, okay? Their desalinization is like a huge thing. doing is diverting water from like the Jordan into this and the blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of science and a lot of stuff that goes into it. But because of all this, the Dead Sea, which is a treasure, you know, that's kind of like everybody goes to the Dead Sea to float in it. Because of it, it's been like receding up to 1 meter a year, which is astounding. And because it's receding, check out these pictures. It's leaving behind these like sinkholes, okay? So, and where are the sinkholes coming from? Well, just a little while ago, what they discovered was, this is where it's interesting, natural water, pure water, clear water, like maybe from an aquifer underneath, has been bubbling up into the Dead Sea. So you have fresh water now overtaking the salt water. And this is what was in Ezekiel's prophecy.
So why is fresh water bubbling up from beneath the Dead Sea and turning the salt water fresh? And now that there are fish and microbes, as you see, this man is going to collect them right now. Why is this so important in Ezekiel's vision? Ezekiel 47, which is found in the Old Testament, many people say is a picture of this millennial reign of Christ. This is what I've been speaking about, this time, this 1,000 years where the truth is bubbling up to the surface, if you will. Ezekiel's vision was a prophecy of a great day to come, when that which was dead would come to life again. In Ezekiel's vision, the man that was leading him went out east with a line in his hand which measured 1,000 cubits. And he led Ezekiel through the water, and the water reached his ankles. And then he measured again another 1,000 and led him to that water, and it was up to his knee, and then again, and it reached his loins, and then again, and it was a river that he couldn't stand anymore. He had to swim in. It was a raging river. From this water that bubbled up from underneath the house. Symbolically speaking, it would be as if the truth was beginning to bubble up from within us, and it starts off a little bit, but then it keeps going, to the point where that which was dead is now flowing with fresh, life-giving water, like the sample that he's collecting right now. The fresh water that is bubbling up from beneath the Dead Sea, which is now beginning to show signs of life, microbes, fish, and more. While everyone's talking about the end of the world, correlating this event to that, they don't understand the story. It's much more than literal fish swimming in the once completely Dead Sea. It's about life of every kind, everywhere, thriving, because the truth was poured out on a world that was deceived. Now, it's also interesting to note that the swamps and the marshes, they were left to their salt. That's because swamps and marshes don't have any life-giving water that ever flows to them. There's more to the story than a literal interpretation.
So Ezekiel saw a day when the Dead Sea would be teeming with life, right? And in that vision, you saw every time, it was like a little bit of water, then there was a lot more water, and then there was a lot more water, and it became like this flowing river that you couldn't pass, which is very significant and very interesting, spiritually speaking. Because if this is life-giving water, right, it just starts off a little bit, it gets a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, and the next thing you know, that Dead Sea is like teeming with life, the lowest place on earth. That's what's interesting. Because symbolically what this says is what I've been saying all along, is that while we enter this time of turmoil and trouble and spooky, crazy things, that which is salty is becoming fresh again. Sweet water is rising. So this is a really remarkable sign. So while a lot of people are going to say that this is the end times, this is it, the bad stuff is coming, I'm saying, look at what this prophecy is saying. The prophecy is saying that there's going to be a day when people in their lowest state, right, where life-giving water is going to flow up from within them. What did Jesus say? He said that within me, right? Within your belly, if you believe, a wellspring of water, a life will flow from within you, from within me, Jesus says, right? When he was sitting at the well, Jacob's well, it's my well. Jesus was hanging out by my well, right? It's not literally my well. And you know what he said? You know what he said? Same thing that you're going to say one day. He said, you keep drinking from that well, you have to keep going back. In other words, you don't need to come to me all the time. You got to go to the source. If you go to the source, you'll get enough of it. In the meantime, but you still tell your friends and share and subscribe and like and comment. Don't need to go to the well anymore. See, that's the thing, because it's within you. And now the lowest place on earth, life-giving water is flowing up from within. Do you see this? Do you see what I'm getting at? And now, because the salt is receding, the corruption and the nonsense is receding, and the bad stuff and the fear and the pain and the shame and all that yucky stuff that we hate, that robs our joy and steals us and takes up all of this headspace, the enemy's influence, if you will, the liar, the father of all lies, all that negative thinking that you think is you, that's not you, because you're more than you know. You'd figure that out if you actually said, hey, teach me the truth no matter what the cost, and you understood that love is the key to everything. To everything. I got an email today. Someone said, Jacob, are we still under the law? I'm like, if you love, you fulfill it. So why don't you just love? I mean, we're going to get into questions over this. I get a lot of questions. I'm not your teacher. You see what I'm saying? A lot of people call me teacher, call me this, call me that, pastor, prophet, but I'm just a YouTuber, man. I got a real job. This is important. Look, faith is important to me. It is my life's blood. It is our life's blood. With faith, all things are possible. If you don't have it and you're not seeking, you're lost and you're blind. You're like that kid, that sea, you know? No, you're just looking. You don't know where to go until all of a sudden, the lights go on, that fresh water starts flowing, and you find life again. So, Ezekiel's prophecy, bad thing, good thing, good thing, ding, ding, ding. I hope that you see it, and I hope that you don't look at this and you say, oh, this is a scary thing, because it really isn't. It's actually pretty awesome, and it actually goes along with everything that I've been saying from the get-go, that we are going to come into a crazy time, and at the same time, those that are seeking the truth, those that are understanding that they're more than they know, those that have given themselves over to more than this, but they have given themselves over to the power and wisdom of God and love, which is God is love, which is Christ. That Christ in you, that hope of glory, that life-giving water. You don't need to keep coming to my show. God, I want you to keep coming though. But you don't need to go to Jacob's well all the time, because if you keep going to Jacob's well, and that's all you're doing, if you just keep coming here, you watch here, and then you go back to your old things, and then you come back again when you feel like you need a little inspiration, you're going to always be thirsty. But you go to the truth, you go to the source, you just say, teach me the truth no matter what the cost, and give it to me. Give it to me. I want to know. You're going to know. I promise you. Because I did, and it worked for me. And now my life is just A-okay. Awesome. I love each and every one of you. Please do subscribe, share it around, tell your friends. And thank you, my patrons. Thank you. I just moved the money over. Oh my God, it was great. It pays my phone bill.